Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tim. This is another Real Ideal Gear Review. Today we're looking at the Hemel Check 6. This is a collaboration field watch between Hemel and Islander Watch Company. This watch has outstanding qualities. It is a great value with one major aesthetic issue that I have. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I think it's major enough to where this may be something that people pass on as a result of it. I'm not willing to pass on it, but it's awfully close. So let's go through the 5 things that we typically go through: size, fitment, finish, accuracy, and then legibility and lume. The size of this watch is great. It's a 40 millimeter diameter, 13 millimeters off the wrist, and 20 millimeters between the lugs for that strap change. The 13 millimeters high kind of puts this watch into kind of a chunky field watch category. There are thinner field watches that are out there, and really one of the aesthetic things about a field watch really is its ability to get underneath shirt cuffs, underneath jacket cuffs, that kind of thing. I think this watch starts to kind of put that into question a little bit with its proportions. It's a little bit on the chunky side, although not terrible, but 13 millimeters, honestly, it's a little bit high for a field watch. Now, at the same time, this is a 200 millimeter water resistant watch. So part of this, I think, has to do with you have 200 meters of water resistance rather than 100 meters of water resistance, or in some cases, 50 meters of water resistance. When you get into those categories, I think you can size down the case just a little bit more as a result of that. But really, this watch is borderline chunky overall for a field watch. Now, what about the fitment? Now, this is where I think this watch excels dramatically as far as fitment goes. Pin link adjustment system, which means you have to push the pin through, adjust the links, put them back together again. Not a bad thing. I think I prefer the screw-in link system a little bit more, just because you can Loctite it and things are just set. Whereas the pin system, not quite sure if the pins kind of work their way out as that bracelet articulates back and forth when you're wearing it. But that's the major adjustments when you take out links. What about the fine adjustments? This is where you have the slide lock adjustment clasp, which is awesome. Much like the Rolex, you pop this down and you can slide this back and forth on the clasp itself. It literally is a gliding or a sliding clasp. And when you find that spot, you just go back here and you snap it into place, and you're good to go. You've made the fine adjustment. There's no milling on the outside. There's no micro adjust pin that you have to move around. There are no pushers on the outside to make that fine tuning adjustment either. So overall system on the fitment of this watch is great. I've got a great fit of this watch, and if I ever need to make an adjustment on the fly, I can with that sliding lock adjustment. What about the finish of this watch? This, I think, is where this watch excels and also deteriorates very quickly over one issue, and we're going to get to that here towards the end of this finish discussion. But the overall finish, I love it. I love the fact that the center bracelet, or the center link on the bracelet, is polished, because it affords this watch to be worn in more than just kind of casual situations. I can wear this watch in semi-professional or even semi-formal occasions, all the way down to a work style watch. Now, if I wore this for a work style watch, I'm going to have to accept the fact that those center polished links are going to be scratched up some. So that's the give and the take. All right. Can I wear this for work? Probably, but maybe not for the harshest work that I do in the lawn business. I'll probably wear this just for like straight up lawn mowing, and that's it. Not the shrub trimming and some of the other landscaping work that we do. But I do think this is a work watch because you have a sapphire domed crystal. The dial itself is kind of a matte black dial. You have high contrast hour markers. The 12, 3, 6, and 9 are larger than the other hour markers, which I think is great. It lines up with the crosshair system that you have on the dial as well, which kind of is kind of the sector dial look to it, which I love sector dials. You have the 24-hour indicators on the inside of the markers, but you also have, I think, a handset that does a really good job of telling the time. I think it could be better with the hour hand being a little bit more differentiated from the minute hand, maybe a little bit thicker, so that when you look at the watch, it's just that much faster that you can acquire the time. Now, the second hand, I think, is the best of the 3-hand set. The second hand has the rectangular baton with the lume on the inside, which I think it stands out just enough, or a little bit more than the typical pip that you might see on a second hand. So I can find the second hand much faster, but it's not overpowering when it comes down to what it covers up as it moves around the dial. So to me, I love the second hand. I think it's the best looking hand of the bunch. Our hand could be just a little bit better, but overall, very legible handset. What about the rest of the dial? When you look at the logos on the dial, this is where I think things kind of fall apart for a field watch and the aesthetic of a field watch. You have both logos for the companies on the dial. You have the Hemel logo, you have the Islander logo. Why are you putting these logos onto a field style watch? The back side, if you look at the case back, has the engraving of Hemel and Islander and has the 200 meters of water resistance on there. Great job. Check 6 is on there. And then they put in the engraving the collaboration. Why? Why are you telling me that it's a collaboration? I know it's a collaboration. You got both company names in the back. You also have both logos on the front, and you also have both logos on the clasp. So for me, the aesthetic of this field watch just kind of got tanked by becoming a billboard for two companies, the Hemel company and the Islander company. I just don't get why all of those logos have to be all over the place on this watch. Put it on the case back, leave the dial alone, and preserve the field watch style or the aesthetic, and let it be more sterile than having both logos on there. And it's just, this watch instantly became a billboard in my mind, and that's one of the most irritating pieces around it. Now, granted, those logos are small, I get it. But the logos also look like something else, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know how to not look at this and see this anymore. So overall, I just think the logos messed it up when it comes down to the aesthetic of a field watch. I love everything else about it. And for me, I'm more of a function guy anyway. So for those of you that are more form over function or the design over function, the design may really irritate you, but for me, it doesn't really matter that much because I'm more interested in the slide lock clasp, the 200 meters of water resistance, a great grippy crown that has a brass insert. Take a look at the crown. It's a great looking crown. You've got the brass case back, which I'm pretty sure it's brass case back. It's just, those kind of touches are all great. And I can overlook a little bit some of the billboardness of this watch because of the function part of it. So very easy watch to read. The legibility of this watch is outstanding. The lume in this watch is really great. It's almost all night. Now the 6 being red is not going to last as long as the other hour markers, but as far as the overall length of time that these hour markers and the handset stay lumed, it is most of the night for sure. I love that. Now the movement is an NH38 movement, which has a 41-hour power reserve. There's no ghost date because there is no date on the dial. So I really appreciate the fact that they matched up the movement with what the dial shows you. So you don't have a date. You don't need to have the date in the movement. So great. Thank you so much. I think it's great. So there's all kinds of really good things about this watch when it comes down to the design, the qualities, the features of the watch. It's just those dang logos. All right. So what are the uses that I think for this watch? Definitely work all the way through semi-casual, semi-formal. Not semi-casual, semi-formal, professional for sure. Now, as a work watch, you may end up scratching those center polished links on the bracelet, which is it's a give and take. At the same time, you get those polished center links, and it kind of pushes it into that semi-formal professional world as well. It's a great watch. Overall score for this watch is a 9.6 out of 10. It could have been a much higher watch. Take those logos off the dial, and it would be outstanding. It'd be 9.8 for sure. But really, the knock is this watch became a billboard really fast. So I'd love to hear what your comments are on this watch. It's a great value watch as far as the overall qualities and the price. You're not going to find things that are much better than this. 200 meters of water resistance really kind of puts it into another category as well for a field watch. So I think this watch does a great job overall. But I'd love to hear what your comments are. Put those down below. Also, check out my website, realidealgear.com. I have some of these reviewed watches for sale. I have package watches with flashlights, kind of an EDC package for sale there as well. Also, some limited edition watches. And you may see this watch go up for sale on my website. So check it out, realidealgear.com. Put your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. My name's Tim, and we'll catch you guys next time.